Нет, мы пришли в музей пилигримов и индейцев, первых поселенцев. Вот такой у них тут чистокол, заборчик. А дальше вот такой красивый домик, сарайчик, защита дров от дождя. Где-то там колодец. А, там, наверное, овечки какие-то. Судя по цепочке, это не сарайчик, это загончик. Деревня эта расположена на берегу речки. Такая вот красивая. После дождя вчерашнего везде речки грязные. А это довольно чистая речушка течет.
Сохраняет в первозданном виде.
Да, туда заходить не дают. То так, смотрите. Вот. Это ферма такая была. Но не просто так люди, здесь образованные жили. Это орган. Вот это амбар, оказывается. Там мясо и овощи хранили. А вот вход есть еще с другой стороны дома, с крылечком.
Okay, this is our beadwork section. Now the lady is working with a stainless steel needle, commercial glass bead, and a flax thread. Now she will do two types of beadwork. This is called a scroll beadwork. Now this is normally sewn down the side of the men's trousers and around the borders of the ladies' skirts. The second type is called a solid beadwork. Now if you'll notice, she'll pick up one bead at a time and she'll sew it to the next. Now if the thread was to break, it would be called a clean break, and not too many beads will be lost, and she could easily mend it. Once she's completed with the belt, she will sew strips of buckskin on to serve as ties. Now depending on the width and the length of the belt, it will take them 3 to 5 days. At one time her designs did have meanings, they have been lost through the years, so they'll make their own design up as they go along. See, this can come down through here or there. Alright, this is our pottery section. Now at one time we would gather the clay around the riverbanks in the area. Now she has two methods of making pottery. First one is called the ball method. She will take a piece of clay, roll it into a ball. Press her thumb in the center with her forefingers on the outside, she would shape the bowl. Now to get much larger pots, she would use what we call the coil method. They would take a flat disc of clay, then she would add ropes of clay until she got her desired height. She would then set them out in the sun to dry until they become firm to work with. Then before we had metal tools, she would use a flint knife or a seashell to carve it down to its even thickness. Then she would take a damp cloth and smooth all the knife marks away. Then she would take a smooth liver stone like you see here, like she's doing there, she would shine the pot. Then she would take a paddle with yarn. Now she can't hold 10 to 200 strands in her hand at one time. Just like at the beadwork, depending on the width and the length, it will take her about 3 to 5 days to complete one. Also, at one time the designs had meaning. Now she'll make her design as she goes along. She will do two types of hand weaving. Finger weaving we call single weave, which is no under method, or a double weave, just like you would do if you had a loom. Also, these were sewn together to make blankets and also sashes and stuff. Now, before we had this type of material, they were using again the fibers of the hemp plant, also animal hair that was braided together. Also, you heard earlier in the show down there, we did have buffalo in this area, some call it bison, and they would use the inside fibers or the hair that rubbed across of the animal when he rubbed his back against the bank or even a tree. And they would come up with this type of material here. very smooth and soft. Doing this wood, that's what it is. Okay, this is our basket section. Now before they had metal tools, they would have made baskets like you see here, bark, made from different types of trees. The knife was made from flint. You'll hear more about the flint on our next stop here. Now once they had the metal tools, they could use two types of material. This is called the river cane. It grows in this area. She would take and cut the outside off. Then she would scrape the inside, leaving the outside with its natural shiny finish. Then she'll soak these in water so when they're wet, they'll be easy to work with and not break. This is called white oak. She will gather small saplings. Then with a hatchet or knife, she'll make smaller splints, scraping them on both sides until they're very thin, like you see here. Also, she'll soak these in water so they'll be flexible. Now to get the colors for these baskets. They would also boil those with our native dyes, and these are permanent. They will not fade. For the yellow color, we use what's called a yellow root. Red color would have came from your blood root. Brown would have came from walnut bark, and darker colors came from butternut bark. Two type of handles that she will use. This is called the interlocking handle. Now she'll put this on before she really starts her basket. So if something was to happen, she would take it apart, replace this, or repair it. Second type is called the drop handle, as you see here on this basket. Now these are put on just before the basket is completed. Now this is a single weave basket made from white oak. And this is her double weave made from river cane. She will start on the bottom, weave her way up, then fold it over and weave her way back inside, finishing on the inside. Now these are woven tight enough, they will hold water also. Depending on the material at the time or at hand, and also what she's making, also determines how long it will take her to complete one, also during the boiling process too. Any questions?
Beautiful.
These are also crushed up to use as whitewash in our ceremonies, which you'll explain to shortly in your next stop here. We didn't have peace pipes, we had ceremonial pipes, and you'll hear about the 7 clans that the Cherokees have and still have today. This represents one of them called the Bird Clan. And when they had special ceremonies, they would bring in all 7 clans, and one member from each clan would smoke out the 7-sided ceremonial pipe. To get the holes in these pipes, they would use what they call a crossbow drill or bow drill. They would use the fibers of the hemp plant to use the string. Also, our bows are made from yellow locust also. Now this would have been made out of stone, serve as a weight. And like today's drills, by changing different size arrowheads, we got different size holes. Once they had metal tools, they began carving what they seen the settlers using, like spoons and forks and stuff. These are just a little bit bigger than what you would normally see. Also, we got the metal tools introduced, and the masks were made from a softwood known as buckeye. Now, these are our ceremonial masks, which you'll be explained to later in the square ground. They're made from softwood as buckeye. The stones have been called soapstone or pipestone.
Or ceremonial grounds. This is where we would gather for ceremonial dances. Ceremonial dances being a form of prayer. Therefore, these grounds inside this mountain of sand are sacred and holy. On the other side, common. And the mountain of sand will serve as a separator. When we enter these grounds, we always come in from the east. That's where the sun rises, and it means a new beginning. We would come here, and when we begin to dance, we'll be dancing counterclockwise, moving counterclockwise. We honor Mother Earth in this way. That's the way that she turns. Now, every village would have a square such as this, located in the center of the village, and every village would have the 7 clans. That's what made up the Cherokee. I'll tell you a little bit about these clans. And the Ganohe, long-haired clan, they wore their hair real long, and they would fixed it in a very elaborate fashion. They had a way of walking that set them apart from the rest of the villagers. Now, history says that they had a kind of a strut. When they walked, they carried themselves very proudly, and they would swing the hair back and forth as they walked. But they had a good reason to be proud. This is where the chief came from. Negotiators were here. Peace chief came from this clan, and it was a great honor to be in his clan. He was active in time of peace. When war came along, he stepped aside a little bit, allow room for the war chief to come in. Selected by the warriors from the Wolf clan, Aniwaya. This was the largest clan there ever was in the Cherokee Nation. Now we also had women warriors fighting alongside the men. And history says some of these women were far more deadly and vicious than some of the men were. And I can believe that. Pretty good. And they caught with on this. Their clan, they took care of communication. We did not use smoke signals or drones as seen on TV. We had a simple method. We just sent the verbal message by a runner. And he would run very swiftly to the next runner, relaying that message until it reached its destination. History says that some of these men could run as far as 100 miles in a day. Now there would be several runners going in different directions because our territory extended for 140,000 square miles. Very